The biggest mistake I made in my business was not hiring a professional to help me with my money. Not just my taxes, but the actual plan I had for my business. I was completely lost on how to handle taxes, what to do with profit, and how to maintain my income. I had to find a better way. That's when I found Core Financial. Core Financial is a team of tax professionals that actually care about building real relationships with their clients. They run my books, keep me up to date with my finances, and make sure I'm taking full advantage of all of my tax benefits. Are you struggling with your finances? Look no further. Core Financial is a brand that is nationwide that can help you with your business. Both Nick and I are huge fans of Core, and they can help you too. Check out howtofilmweddings.com/core to schedule a consultation today. Core Financial, real relationships, no surprises. Hello and welcome to How to Film Weddings. Buckle up, my friend. It's a good day today at How to Film Weddings. You have to laugh at me. I'm not stopping. This is the intro. I'm not laughing. I'm telling you to buckle up. Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts because today is a good one.
I don't know.
Nick,
I don't know. But if you guys don't know who Patrick Moreau is, he is basically the wedding film industry as it is today. It's his fault. Okay. And I mean that in a good way, focus on story and cinematic films and good quality. He has been so influential in that. And guys, he yelled at me in today's podcast.
He did.
He yelled at me.
Awesome.
It was pretty cool. I got kind of goosebumps as he was talking. He got so excited and so passionate. But anyways, we are so excited today. I'm doing good. I don't know if you asked me that. I'm doing good, but
we're both kind of frazzled because we just had a really great conversation.
Great conversation. Anyways, Patrick and Rebecca from Muse Storytelling were on the podcast today, and they're talking all about perceived value. And we talked about how, getting clients to see your perceived value, but also kind of raising that perceived value up in yourself so that you can feel confident and be more confident to go after those clients, to charge more, to say, yes, this is what I am worth. This is my expertise. And so it was really great to have them on, John. I'm still kind of reeling over it. I kind of forgot I was doing a podcast because I was listening to them this is such good stuff.
Yeah, every time I'm around Patrick, every time we get to talk, I'm always so motivated by him, the way that he just perceives life, the way that he, one of the things he was just talking about is just being remarkable and being an expert and all these different things. And we'll get to it in the conversation, of course, but I sit here after interviewing them and just I'm like, man, I'm so thankful for what they just said. So this is one of those episodes where definitely get a notepad out, take some notes, and we have some pretty awesome things that we talk about at the end. So make sure to hang on till the end, and we can just jump in to this week's episode of the podcast.
Let's do it.
And we are here with Patrick and Rebecca. Guys, we're so excited to have you on. Why don't you take a second, say hello to the How to Film Weddings audience, who you are, just give us a little bit of an intro.
Yeah, so I'm Patrick, the founder of Muse Storytelling, and way back when I was a wedding filmmaker and had weddings that really took me all over the world. One got noticed by Canon, one got noticed by CBS, one got noticed by the NFL, and had all these amazing things, but really didn't know how to run a business. And so I was doing all this stuff, but was often losing money, bleeding in many ways. And then had put an ad out for a marketing manager and got a reply back from a woman I'd never heard of saying, "Love your ad, no interest being your marketing manager, but I think we should hang out." And that's the first time I met Rebecca.
So on the opposite side of that, I was just coming back I took a month off and was in Spain. And the whole point of it was to figure out what I wanted to do next in my career. Because I had been consulting with small businesses and really helping them grow really effectively. And it was, I don't know, we're going to go with 8 or 9 businesses that the first year that we were working together, I had helped at least 20 people pay themselves 6 figures. And I was living this really nice lifestyle, but I got to be honest, I was kind of bored. And so I came back and I was like, I need to meet interesting people in Portland, because all of my clients, they were in New York and San Francisco and Vancouver, Canada. Like, I didn't have a single client in Portland. And so I just started emailing people, and one of them happened to be Patrick. And so we got together, we started talking about things, one thing led to another, and now I'm the CEO of Muse Storytelling, and thankfully we don't lose money anymore.
Yes,
that would be a good thing.
I got your back.
I don't know too many CEOs that keep their job too long if they don't, make any money. So that's good. And it's good to hear your story. Patrick kind of like glazed by it. He said he's like he did wedding filmmaking back in the day. He got some stuff noticed by Canon and the NFL and stuff. I will say, whenever I first found Stillmotion at the time and Patrick, it like completely knocked me off my rocker. It completely changed the way I did everything. I found Patrick, I think it was, 2010. Was that when you were doing like I think it was like 2010.
It would have been 8 to 12 kind of thing. 2008
okay,
to 12,
somewhere
in that range.
Yeah, I think it was like right before, and I went full time in 2009. So like my friend Joel was like, hey, have you guys checked out Stillmotion? And like, this was before DSLRs. It was before any audio was incorporated. And like, I just remember watching this film and crying and being like, why is this so good? Why am I so drawn to this? Why? And it was just like all these tutorials on how to use a monopod. And I bought the monopod you told me, I bought the slider you told me about. I just like everything about what Patrick said to do. It was like, I'm doing that. And my film significantly changed. And so the people that are like, I didn't know who Patrick, like, guys, Patrick, and he also has a couple of awards that he's won for different things. I'll let him talk about that later. But the guy has completely helped revolutionize the wedding video business and has gone on, obviously, to do some incredible projects. So you did mention a couple of the projects. Brag for just a second. Kind of tell us who you're working with, the kinds of projects you're seeing in 2020, 2021, just some of those highlights.
Well, so as we started working with the NFL and Apple, and we were getting calls from all these companies that basically wanted us to make tell real people stories with condensed timelines. So like we had 4 hours with Phil Mickelson, who at the time was the best golfer in the world. And they were like, who do we call to tell a real story, but also make it look beautiful? Because often you have to pick one or the other, right? We need 5 days to make it look good, and all this research. And so we were the wedding people who could go in and hang out with Phil for a couple hours and make these beautiful little pieces. And so that started getting noticed. And I think that's what a lot of us, I don't really identify as a wedding filmmaker anymore, but clearly it's still in my core. But as wedding filmmakers, we often don't get the value in our skill set and how it's easily worth 10 times more in another field. But all of a sudden, we were just getting these calls from Callaway doing these large series. And I had a director, Phil Mickelson, best golfer in the world, 10 feet away. Director walks over to me and goes, hey, Patrick, you know that wedding film you did where the groom went? And he's referencing a wedding film in a shot that I should do with the best golfer in the world. Like, what? This is something wrong here, right? But that's what kept happening. And that was the transition, was people were calling. And so now we kind of do that with Four Seasons, with Fujifilm. But it's this real people storytelling where we can go in and tell really authentic stories, but also make it look and feel really powerful.
Yeah, and one of the things I was going to ask Rebecca is, so when you got in touch with Patrick, I know that like as creatives and as filmmakers, we sometimes don't put this value on what we do. And you said it, Patrick, like we're, worth 10 times more the skill set we have. So when you came across Patrick and his creativity, if you've ever been around him, he's passionate, he's excited. Like, what did you immediately start?
Positive ways he's describing me.
I do this, yeah. He sends me a check.
Obviously, he hasn't worked closely with you.
Not closely, just far enough. Fringe is fine with me. A fringe friendship is what we call it, a friendship. Like, what was the state of where he was? What kinds of things did you start to try to help implement? So now, I know you guys are in a great position now. So, like, what kinds of things were you looking at whenever joining alongside with the team?
Yeah, when I first came into Muse, the thing that really struck me was that not a single person on our team had gotten into filmmaking because they wanted to be a business person, and it wasn't so much that there was anything wrong with Muse or that there were things that were like, it was just a business run by people who didn't know that much about business. And so the reality was that a lot of the changes that we've implemented over the last couple of years, they aren't rocket science. It's really the fundamentals that make a good business run well and run smoothly and run with a lot less stress and agitation and uncertainty than I found when we first came into Muse. So when we actually look at the things that we got implemented, a lot of it was about creating simple systems that actually make our life a lot easier. So to give a really concrete example of that, we make amazing proposals, sales proposals at Muse. Like, we do a really great job of getting to know clients and listening to them carefully and really having very high perceived value in terms of being able to deliver exactly what they're looking for. But we used to remake the wheel every single time we did it. We'd start from scratch and we'd think, what is it that we need to do? Versus having something that's dialed, that our designer has actually gone and done, and where we can use it time and time again, but that still has enough flexibility that it can be implemented specifically for that client and what they need. So like, we actually have a really long deck right now that we can personalize, and what used to take 4 to 6 hours, we can now give to an assistant who can do it in 90 minutes with some help. And like, those kinds of wins where we can go from something that takes 4 to 6 hours of Patrick's time to something that we can delegate to someone else in our team for even less time, like, that's the kind of thing that can completely change your day-to-day reality in business.
And I think if I can just build on the pitch deck thing, because a lot of wedding filmmakers maybe don't do pitch decks, like that's a little bit outside of your realm and everything. But as you start getting into commercial work, like the way you present yourself and your ideas is so much of your value. And I can remember sitting in a boardroom, having a conversation, and I was supposed to be getting feedback on one of our products that we were doing in education. And I ended up pitching him an idea of like, hey, we could actually reinvent your education through the filmmaking we do. And he was like, okay, well, look, I'm going to text my board members, send me a proposal, and I'll put it in front of them later this week. So I've got 48 hours to send them a proposal. Now, because of the simple systems, we've got a pre-designed deck, we've got a studio, iMac cameras, blah, blah, blah. We wrote a script, filmed it, put it on a Squarespace page. We landed a $500,000 contract 2 weeks later, and they weren't going against other people. Like, it was ours to lose, but we went in at such high value, and we had the simple, like, it wasn't a reinventing the wheel. Like, that's where it can take you. This was not a client we had. Like, I had never sold anything for that much. But when you have that stuff built out, and instead of going, well, I want to charge 50, I want to charge 100,000. Like, for some of us, that's scary, and it was for me for a long time. But as you start going, hold on, I'm going to go bigger, how do you create a way of presenting things that feel like they're worth that much?
Yeah. As you guys were talking, I'm sure that none of our wedding video friends can relate, about being creatives and running a business and not wanting to run a business and, not having systems and doing the same thing over and over and over and again and all that kind of stuff. But no one can relate to that, I'm sure. But as John and I have talked, and, as we're, talking with other wedding videographers. And, one of the things that in me talking with John, I've been able to raise, when I met John, I was charging around $3,000 for a wedding film. And, this year after add-ons and everything, I was $150,000 or $150 away from $10,000. Like, I was trying to figure out, what's one little thing I can add so I can make this a $10,000 booking. Right. And, people like, how do you guys do this? How do you do this? And both of you said something that I think I'd like you to talk a little bit about. And that is just perceived value, right? That's, me believing I'm worth it and then showing people that I am worth it. So why don't you guys take a little bit and break down what you mean when you're talking about perceived value?
So when we think about perceived value, it's all about what the perception is on the other side of the computer screen or on the other side of the table when you're talking to a prospective client. And so one of the things that I'd really encourage you to do is to find someone that you trust and someone who's maybe in the industry or maybe just has a lot of experience with weddings, and have them actually go through, what does that entire process look like from the very first time someone finds you? So maybe they found your Instagram page, maybe they come onto your website, and what does that process look like all the way through to where they're actually sending you money for your services. Now, our goal is always that the perceived value, so in other words, what we think it's worth, is twice as much as we're charging. And here's the thing, when you go through an experience and you perceive it to be worth twice as much as you're charging, like, suddenly the equation completely changes in terms of people actually saying, yes, I want to buy this. Now, what this means in reality is that there are a lot of different specific ways to engage people to actually increase the perceived value. A really big one is around design and like, how does it feel to be on your website? Are your emails, personalized? Are they designed? Do you have good graphic treatments? What does it actually feel like to be part of it? And another big part of that is personalization, which is I know how Patrick got a lot of wedding clients to say yes to him.
What cameras? Is that the C100 you've got behind you there, John?
These?
Yeah.
Yes. Those are C100 Mark IIs and C100 Mark I. Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how many units Canon has shipped of those, whether it's in the hundreds of thousands or millions, but like a lot of filmmakers have that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't make you different. Like, as much as we want to think that our lenses and our cameras are like, ooh, look at how pretty, we all sell pixels and waveforms. It's the same thing. Now, yours might come out of a Canon, mine might come out of a Sony or a Red or whatever, but it's all pixels and waveforms. And we have this mistake in thinking that, like, that's our value. And early on in our career, we were charging something like $8,000 for all day, we'll go until we drop photo and video. And I wanted to, you were saying earlier, John, you wanted to charge more, and like that kind of thing. Or Nick, that you wanted to hit that $10,000 mark. We had that. We wanted to break 10,000. I started calling every professional. I'm a university student a year in. I started calling everybody that's doing it, going, what do I do to hit $10,000, $12,000, $15,000? Everybody shut me down. Nope, not possible. Can't charge that in Niagara Falls. Doesn't work. And we're like, well, look, I'm quitting if like this is it, because I need more time. Like I want to get better. I don't want to live here, right? So we rebuilt everything. Like, moved into a new studio, built a custom screening room, got like nice couches, a projector, a screen, had this, custom designed pricing on pearl paper. Everything was just such a different experience, and doubled our prices overnight. We went from that to $16,000. First person that came in not only booked a $16,000 package, offered us a house too, and was like, "Hey, I'm Niagara's biggest home builder. Do you want to do a house on trade?" He ended up doing $32,000 roughly, and it was the down payment on the house and whatever. But it was like that very intentional, like Rebecca said. Let's look at what does this actually feel like it's worth. Everything I touch, everything I see, your emails, like the words you send back. We used to ask people, these random questions, and it would get into these long conversations. That was the value. We took them and gave them an emotional experience nobody else was. So, like, that's the perceived value. Everything you touch and feel and taste, and then how much does it feel like it's worth, versus where we usually just focus, what's my depth of field? What kind of color grading and LUTs am I using? You know what I mean? And it's like there's so much more than that.
And
you definitely hit it.
Yeah, I want to point on that, some of you are listening to this and like, wow, $16,000 or whatever, and you're thinking like today. But no, Patrick, you did this like 10 years ago, right? Like
10 years ago, same day edit only. So we walked at the end of the night. It was done, shipped, and like slept in for the next week. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. So, and again, just by raising your value, your experience, I think so many of us, you're talking about pixels and waveform and stuff. So many of us say, oh, well, my work speaks for itself, which is true to an extent. Right. But if you want to, I said to an extent. I said to an extent.
It's a lie. I'm going to go outright lie. Your work will not speak for yourself. And I'm going to go to a psychological side there.
I love this.
That perception, our expectations shape our perception. We see what we think we're going to see, right? And so if you think something is terrible, it's going to be a lot worse. If you think it's amazing, if you think that you're looking at a $15,000 watch, you will absolutely perceive it as better. You might not think it's worth that much, but it completely changes it. Like, our work does not do the talking. We and our brand need to do the talking. Now, you can let it talk for itself, but it's probably going to say I'm worth $1,000. And if that's okay with you, let it talk all day long. But like, there's such an opportunity there.
Yeah,
sorry.
I love it.
I get fired up.
I love it.
I'm starting to sweat.
I love it. It was great. And I was going to, I was kind of going to make that point. You did it a lot better than I would. So I'll just leave it to rest.
You did.
So yeah, that was great. So yeah, we had this idea we have the idea, let's say, that our work will sell itself, when it's so much more than that. It's, you paid how much more for the paper that you printed your pricing on, and you probably maybe weighed that like, well, this is $1 a sheet and this is $5 a sheet. Like, is it worth it? And at the time, maybe not, but whenever you start selling stuff and you start having this higher end brand experience, you're really elevating that perceived value so that you can get that kind of stuff. We just redid our website, and I think we paid close to $6,000 for, this complete brand overhaul. And like, I just feel like that if my designer was said, okay, it's 10,000, it's like, I would be like, okay, because I know that look and that feel is worth it, for what we want to try to do and what we want to try to accomplish in our business. So, John, do you have anything to add before we go to break?
So many things, and I don't ever want to go to break. Now, I do want to point out, okay, so whenever I first, found Stillmotion and found, what you guys were doing, the way that you used your words when communicating and the way that you perceived yourself and projected, it was like, oh my goodness, these guys have their stuff together. They are the perceived value of what you guys were producing, and it's like your films obviously had to back it up, and they were next level. So I don't think that you specifically, your films didn't speak for yourself, especially 10 years ago. But I do think that so many of us wedding filmmakers, I hear it all the time. They're like, what profile settings are you on your camera? What is that, what you're charging more because of that? And it's like, whenever one of my good friends, Ace, who's a photographer here in town, he doesn't do much on his website. He doesn't do much, but his perceived value in our community and what he does with people and how he communicates with people, he books the biggest weddings every time. If Ace is at the wedding, they're spending a ton of money because of the value that he has put out there. And people, I think, are afraid to project a high value of themselves to others in their industry. And there's so many people out there like, well, when I arrive, I can then say, yeah, I'm a big deal, or I feel self-conscious to say, or to perceive myself that way. So what would you say to people out there, like common mistakes you're seeing with wedding filmmakers or filmmakers in general? What are the common mistakes they're making or waiting for when it comes to the perceived value?
I'll add one really quick thing here and then go over to you, Rebecca. John, you mentioned being afraid. Like, a lot of people are afraid. And I think the number one way to go from charging $5,000 to $10,000 or $3,000 to $7,000 is you have to believe you're worth it. I mean, number one, if you don't believe you're worth it, then you act, and everything around you comes out that way. The moment you get off here and you go, I'm worth $20,000, and you start looking at every single thing you do and go, is that a $20,000 pricing list? Is that a $20,000 website? Is that a $20,000 email? You go through that entire thing. What you're going to start doing is bringing it all up. And then you're going to feel it. And then you're going to meet with somebody, and they're going to feel it. I couldn't believe when we got into commercial work and we started asking 50, 60, and then up into six figures and more, nobody would balk at prices. Like Rebecca's doing a several $100,000 documentary, her first time directing. We got zero pushback on pricing because we believe we're worth it. We put everything into making sure that they feel it. And all of a sudden, there's none of that price and that bantering in the negotiation.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I want to make a couple of quick points. The first one is that this idea of waiting until you arrived, newsflash, you never arrive. I don't care if you were standing on the Emmy stage. I don't care maybe if you're president of the United States, then maybe you've arrived. But it doesn't exist. And people think that there's some hypothetical future in which they'll all of a sudden have the confidence or the clarity or the certainty. And that doesn't exist. But so much of this idea of being afraid or of basically what I'm hearing is people trying to follow easy trends. And trust me, if charging $20,000 is as simple as changing a few numbers in your camera, guess what? Everyone's going to be doing it tomorrow. And then you're going to have the same exact problem all over again. So if you don't want to have the same outcomes as everyone else, you need to play by different rules. So if you think about it, this means what is everyone else doing and how can I differentiate myself in a way that's going to be positive for the people that I want to actually work with? So that might mean I know Patrick, back in the days of Stillmotion, you guys had some quirky films, and they definitely weren't the most beautiful on the market. You had some really beautiful ones. You had some really quirky stuff too, because you wanted to work with people who were interesting and who actually cared about story. And so to me, when you think about perceived value, it's not just what is going to look expensive. Yes, you want it to look and feel expensive, but you want it to look and feel expensive and excellent for the types of people you want to be working with.
So good. I hope you guys out there that are listening have like your notepads or whatever you take notes on. This is such good stuff. We're going to get back to more of this after this break.
Are you tired of just sending a link to your couples when you are done with their film? Do you want to deliver something they can actually see and feel? Something physical? We are so excited to tell you about Photo Flash Drive. Photo Flash Drive's customizable hard drive and solid state drives give your client a peace of mind. Take your delivery experience to the next level with your couples. Photo Flash Drive uses state-of-the-art Seagate drives that are 100% customizable. PFD has the ability to print your logo, your couple's names, or both on the drive. You guys, we picked up a few of these and they are so good. We cannot wait to blow our clients away with this next level physical product. Not only can you customize these drives, Photo Flash Drive offers high quality, customizable boxes that you can brand with your logo to really blow your couples away. My favorite is the rustic slide box that has our logo engraved on the cover. Having a high quality product like this is something that has been definitely lacking in my business. The custom hard drives and solid state drives with cases are a great way to sell additional items to your couple, a great way to offer a full branding experience, and a great way to leave an impression. And today we have a deal for you. Use promo code HTFW15 for 15% off all hard drives, solid state drives, and cases. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/photoflashdrive to see all the details.
Finding the perfect song for your wedding film can be so frustrating. We spend countless hours searching for the perfect song. When it comes to licensing music, Nick and I both love MusicBed. Not only do they have the best music, but their website makes it so easy to find the perfect song and to find it fast. We have both been using the MusicBed's wedding subscription for years and cannot recommend it enough. Not only are they adding new music from incredible musicians like Chapters, The Light, The Heat, and Tony Anderson all the time, they've made it incredibly easy to search their library for mood, genre, instrumentation, and even key. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed and use promo code HTFW for a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription. howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. All right, we are back from break, and we are going to start with the question of the day presented by Wedditor More Than Freelance, More Than Outsourcing. Our question today for you all: what drives perceived value for wedding filmmakers?
I think you can really break down the entire process into a pre-sale, post-sale, and then like post-production, after you've actually shot the wedding, right? Before the sale, you've got your emails, your phone calls, you've got your website, you've got your business card, you've got your pricing. So that is not just how does it look, it's the words you use, the copy, the design, the paper you printed on, when and how you share it. You know, the first thing you say in your email, the words you put around how somebody contacts you on your website. If it just says, contact us and here's a number, that's a pretty low perceived value. That's like a camera store, right? That's not a craftsman. And then as you go into the actual production, how do you dress? How do you talk to them? What do you send them after the wedding? And I'm not talking about what they're paying you for. I'm talking about how do you go above and beyond to drive the value? What are all of these other touch points? We'll often, on almost every commercial shoot, send an email the day after the first day of production with color graded screen grabs, just talking about how much fun we're having. We never bill for it. We never talk about it, but you better believe how much perceived value it drives when you're like, wow, that's what they're doing. Look at how good it's going, right? So looking at all of those little touch points throughout the process and realizing they matter. Your couples want to be able to go to their wedding party and go, do you know who that is? Do you know what they've done? Give them that opportunity by creating that experience, right? And it can turn on you, because we'd get weddings where that's all we were. And that's kind of when we had to get out of it, because it'd be like, look, we hired these people and they didn't actually care about the substance anymore. But that's how much you can create an experience of people wanting to be around you. And then I think what people are doing a lot better in is the post side. Like when you actually mail it to them, what does it look like? What is the package? We used to have these gorgeous handmade orange paper boxes, and you'd open it back in, I don't know if you guys remember when there were DVDs. There'd be a DVD in there, but then it would have like, custom written copy inside about your story. And these were custom made, like $25 a pop, but you would open them and just be like blown away. Again, didn't talk about them. It just showed up. And then that would lead to 5 more inquiries from their friends that are 3-4 years out going like, this is what I want. So every single touch point where they're interacting with your brand going, what does it say? How does it feel? Is it the value I want? And like Rebecca mentioned earlier, is it the experience that's consistent with the people I want to work with? Now, that skill set, though, everything we're talking about is so applicable in commercial work as well. Tossing over to you, Rebecca.
I'll catch it. So the first thing to keep in mind as you're looking to kind of see what else might be out there, whether or not that's because you've been doing weddings for a while and you're just interested in something else, or I don't know if anyone else noticed, but we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and so maybe you have a few less weddings than you've had in the past. So for anyone who's in a space where they're going, well, what else can I do? As a business person, it blows my mind that any wedding filmmakers have any doubt that their skill set isn't valuable. Now, I just would like to give an example that wouldn't be so effective in the pandemic right now, but we'll talk about what would be in a second. But did you know that Muse actually pitched a same-day edit to a multinational brand for, multiple 6 figures? In other words, the exact same skills that made Stillmotion an amazing filmmaking brand, or an amazing wedding filmmaking brand, Muse has now used in commercial contexts to just blow people's minds. I mean, the head of PR, and this is a multinational global brand, it's 4 Seasons. The head of PR was like, I can functionally not believe that this is possible. And the CEO literally sent an email to the entire board of directors stating, like, can you even believe that this is possible, that we could do a same-day edit? Now, if you want to talk about a skill set that's capable of getting you in front of a board of directors of a multinational corporation, y'all have it. And so one of the things that I think is so important here is take off your wedding videographer hat for a second and put on a business hat and look and say, what challenges can I solve for people? And the reality is that businesses right now, they're struggling too, but they're struggling to find innovative ways to offer their services. So there are absolutely people who are turning and trying to do education online and who need help of filmmakers. There are absolutely people who are trying to do innovative conferences who absolutely need the skills of wedding filmmakers. And the other thing, so we've been in production, but productions are tiny now. And we've always run small productions because we like lean teams, but productions are tiny now. And guess who has the skills to run tiny, high value, incredibly effective production? Wedding filmmakers. And so the big thing about perceived value in all of this is that you have to apply those same exact skills to the commercial space. So you need to be thinking like, okay, I'm going to take off my wedding hat. I'm going to put on my business hat. How can I identify what problems they need to solve? How can I solve those problems? And how can I show that I'm capable of them with my current body of work? So in other words, like, I just want to like shake every single one of you and be like, you have so much value to offer a commercial client. So believe in yourself and just go out there and start solving some problems.
Can I add one thing to that 4 Seasons story? Because I think it's so important when we talk about perceived value. The idea that we did the same day edit for them, they did these luxury parties all over the world, and they didn't ask us to make a same day edit. They didn't even ask us to film the party. They shared an edit of a past one that they had done. Just like, hey, check this out. We're really excited with it. The party was 2 months ago. I'm going, you're releasing a video 2 months after the party? Right? As a wedding filmmaker, you go, what are you talking about? Like, why would anybody want to watch, and why is it taking 2 months? So I wrote back and said, when does your press release go out? They say the next day at 6. What if we had your video ready then? And they were like, that's not possible. I was like, well, of course it is. The next day, it's like, we can totally do that. And they ended up 4Xing their budget, and we had 5-6 people to film these parties on $350 million super yachts. Like, things that would just blow your mind, but was because of the perceived value of we'll deliver this when your press release goes out, when people are actually talking about your event, that is worth so much more to them. And it's just recognizing that people aren't always going to ask you for this. You can identify that and go, hey, I can do this. And there's so much more value in you recognizing that and making that offer.
Whew. Man, there's so many things that you're saying and so many things that I'm like picking up on that I'm like, I need to talk about. You said it in there about, charging more or, whatever. No one has ever, asked me, oh, I love your stuff. Can I pay you more money for that? Like, we complained about the pricing, but they wouldn't have paid you more if you wouldn't have made that offer, brought that up. So that's part of it. The thing that I keep coming back to with perceived value. And Patrick, you kind of mentioned this earlier about, being a $20,000, whatever, and thinking it that way. The perceived value isn't, I'm wondering if a lot of wedding filmmakers don't see that in themselves, right? I think that's really the big problem when it comes to perceived value is they don't see themselves in that way to do that. I can't ask for that much, or I can't, because they don't believe in themselves enough. They're trying to, show their brand as this nice high-end brand, but they don't believe that they are that. So there's just so much, I don't know, problem in that, and do you have any, tips or thoughts? I'm just thinking of this, of kind of elevating yourself, so that you can raise that up in yourself so that you can, charge these bigger numbers or go after these bigger jobs and just feel confident about it.
A big thing for us was being very intentional, like actually writing it all out. Like, what is every single thing we do? What are the largest opportunities? What are we doing now? How does it feel? Because when we feel a lack of confidence and when we feel uncomfortable, that often comes from ambiguity. There's just too much. We don't know. But when you break it down into the 15 different touch points and you list out what you do, what you can do, and then you start getting confident with all of those things, all of a sudden, it will change, and you will feel like you're worth $10,000 or $20,000. But it's the, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? But you really have to work through all of this, and you're going to start to see, as you make those changes, you feel it as well.
I want to toss in one more thing, which is that I think that a lot of confidence can come from playfulness. And the reason I specifically chose playfulness is because you can forget failure when you're playing. So I have a younger brother. He's 6'4", so I can't really call him my little brother anymore. But I have a younger brother who is probably the best salesman I know, period. And the thing that no one recognizes about Ben is that he fails more than basically anyone that I know. And the only way he makes, $200 million worth of sales a year is because he fails at making another $500 million worth of sales. And so when you think about it from that perspective, if you can get a little bit more playful, if you can try pitching a higher price point and be okay with the fact that it might not work, but try again and be playful around what is it that I could test this time? What would happen if I use thicker paper? What would happen if I changed my branding to be more like this? What would happen if I did a call instead of an email? What would happen if I asked crazy, interesting questions on my intake form rather than the same stuff that they're getting from every other wedding filmmaker out there? And so I'd really encourage people, if they're lacking confidence, to loosen up a little bit, recognize that failure is going to come with the territory, and just try.
And there are some of you out there definitely that are listening to this going, okay, really? The paper that I printed on? Is that really going to make me worth this much? And there are scientific studies that have shown they took a whole bunch of resumes and they looked at and had people judge really quickly what are the best candidates. Guess what they were? The ones that were printed on the heaviest paper. And there's over and over again org charts where you draw a longer line to the upper level management and they're perceived as having more authority. These crazy things, but our perception is very much tied to our tactile experience, and it absolutely changes things in a way that is way bigger than the extra dollar you're going to pay for that heavyweight matte paper.
What I'm getting out of this is I need to go buy me some paper. We'll have an Amazon affiliate link. We're going to get dozens of dollars off of that, Nick. It's going to be insane.
There we go.
I'm sitting here thinking, and I think that a lot of people get into this wedding industry, get into the filming industry. They're creative, and they don't ever take that time to just do what you're saying and just write out the different things that the skill that you have. If you wrote out, I know how to white balance, I know how to do audio, I know how to set up tripods, I know how to, like, you start writing out everything you know how to do. And I think there's two kinds of people. I think I'm one of the kind of people that have always been like I perceive the value of what I bring, no matter what I'm doing, as like, I am going to be the best at this, or I'm not going to do it. And I'm going to like show everybody, like, I was the captain of the basketball team, because it's like, I'm not going to let anybody be better than me, and I'm going to go for it. And then there are people like, I don't want like that attention. I don't want to, there's different people. My wife does not want to be in front of a camera or want to be, and so like, I think that the people that are like, that feel a little more on the side, like my wife, it's like, there's different ways to go about this perceived value where you don't have to be loud and in front of, and like all this stuff. It's just getting off of the sidelines in my mind. It's like getting out in front and saying, okay, if I want to make $10,000 a wedding film, I have to see it in me first, and I have to believe it. And I honestly, I don't know if it's fake it till you make it, but so many situations that I've been in my life, just by having the confidence, like I started running ads in Southern California, like, I don't know, 6 years ago on Google, just to like see if I could get some Southern California weddings. And no joke, the day that I put up an ad with a new website, which West Coast Wedding Films, it was just like, let's do this. Like, no joke, I got a call that day, and it was like, hi, we're with Levity Entertainment. We have a client that might be interested in using you. And I was like, yeah, right. I thought it was my brother. I thought it, like, I didn't know. I was like, who's calling me, this California number? And like, they were like, we have a high profile client that might be interested in using you. Can you send over, and we can't tell you who it is, da da da. And I just sent over a proposal for 20 grand. It was Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist guy that's like the number 3 comedian in the world at that time. They booked me on the spot just for shooting for that amount. Like, they just to shoot it. They're going to edit it. They're going to handle the producers. But I was just confident talking. I mean, I was nervous as all get out, but I was just confident. Like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring in these kind of high-end cameras. And like, I kind of figured it out after they said yes. And then by building this relationship with them while we were there, they added another $10,000 onto it for us to edit the project once it was over. So it became like the biggest booking that I ever got. And that was in 2012. And so it was just like this perceived value by, I put the branding the way it needed to go. I did all the things right when they talked, when they called me. All this stuff really added up. So I don't know why I got into that story, but that just reminded me of all of that. Like, and that gave me the confidence to move to the next thing and to the next thing. So for the listeners out there, if they are thinking about, man, I want to do that next thing. I want, maybe they do want to do something in the commercial world. I know you guys have some really cool stuff coming out, and I want you to be able to spend a little bit of time kind of talking about everything that's going on with you, your education, stuff like that. So I'm going to toss it back over to you guys. Tell us all about what's going on.
So probably about a year and a half ago, Patrick and I were on a webinar with a bunch of people in the Muse community, and we were kind of talking about all the changes that we were making as a business. And somebody was like, hey, I need a Rebecca. And at the time, we both just kind of laughed about it and went back. And, Patrick and I then actually started talking about it. And the thing is the number one ask that the Muse community has ever made to us is like, teach us how to run a business. But the reality was that up through, a couple of years ago, Muse really wasn't in a place to do that at a level that we would feel amazing about putting out that kind of education. We have another course. It's called The Science of Storytelling. It breaks down how to do story in filmmaking. And it's really, it's a phenomenal product. And so we wanted to find out if we could make something that would rival that. And so, wow, I guess over a year ago now, we started diving in and looking at what is everything that a filmmaker would need to know, whether or not they're a wedding filmmaker, a commercial filmmaker, or if they're looking to transition between those two. Like, what is everything that they would need to know to run a really successful and thriving business? And so we built Profitable Filmmaking. Now, Profitable Filmmaking, it is an 8-week course that takes you from setting a vision for exactly what your business will look like, what kinds of clients you'll have, how much you want to work, what types of films you want to be making. We're going to walk you through all of it. And then we've broken the entire remainder of the course down into these simple systems that a lot of them are done for you. It has done for you budgeting, a done for you client proposal, all of these simple systems where you can take them out, personalize them for yourself once, and then just put things on autopilot. So basically, we tried to do what I've done for Muse, but for anyone who'd like to join our community. So Patrick, as you've been going through profitable filmmaking and like going through this entire experience of making it, what do you think are some of the key things that people should know about it?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is the whole course is built on the idea that you have to do reps in your business, right? And you think of working out, going to the gym, and it's hard. A lot of us do it once and we quit. And it's very much like what you need to do in your business. Like, you've got to put in the work. And if you regularly work out your business muscles, it gets better. And you find yourself sitting in John's chair with his, $20,000-$30,000 West Coast filmmaker. But it takes the work. And so reps is quite simply being remarkable. We believe there's an exponential return on being remarkable. So we break down, how do you be remarkable? Why do you need to be remarkable? And how that has led to just such massive growth for us. Like, we won Emmys and NFL contracts and, all of those things because we did one thing at one time that was remarkable. And it often was never asked of us. We went above and beyond. We were remarkable. Somebody else recognized it, and it led to something. So how do you be remarkable in your business? E is for expert. How do you lead your client as an expert? The number one way you can charge more is if you lead them, not follow. They should not be sending you shot lists or music suggestions or anything, because ideally you're the expert where they say, we just trust you. When we stopped doing wedding films, they just said, I guess we'll see you when it's ready. Like, there was nothing about when we're showing up on the wedding day, or we were the expert. We knew what to do. We've got you, right? So how do you lead your client as an expert? P for perceived value. We've talked about that a lot today. We really break down worksheets of every single step. Scorecards. How do you increase it? What does, a higher price point look like? And then S for simple systems, like Rebecca talked about. So that's reps. And we go through each one, helping you be more remarkable, be the expert, increase perceived value, implement simple systems as a way of growing what you're charging and your overall profits.
I love it.
It's really important to me that everyone knows that we also tested this during the pandemic. So just to give you an idea of what this kind of thing has done for Muse, since I came on board, we've tripled our revenue. Patrick has doubled his salary. Patrick took his first vacation in 13 years. This might be the biggest win on my side. Our life is a lot easier. We work with people who we really enjoy. And generally speaking, like, having a solid business makes having a life a lot easier. So for example, when we came into the pandemic, while everyone else was panicking, we knew that we had a cash buffer. We still, at this point in the pandemic, have more than a 4-month cash buffer, which means we don't have to make cash-based decisions. We don't have to be in panics. So a lot of stress just gets ironed out from all of it. But we also took a small group of filmmakers, 24 people, through profitable filmmaking during the pandemic to make sure that it will work before we would offer it up to anyone else. Because the last thing we'd want to do is give you guys something that doesn't work. And those 24 filmmakers who went through, they're closing the largest deals of their lives. They're finding new clients. One guy, Minnow, went from having 2 clients to 8 within like a week and a half.
Hold on, Christian. Christian, I mean, yeah. For all of our listeners out there, Christian took profitable filmmaking with less experience than almost all of you. He was fresh out of school, and I don't even think he had a filmmaking background. Like he had one client worth a couple $1,000. Through the end of the course, he booked a $40,000 commercial with so little experience. You know what I mean? So it's like so much of it is possible when you put in the work and you really learn how to communicate your value, how to build that value with your clients.
And I think that one of the biggest things is that, as we've talked about repeatedly, like, you can play by the rules that everyone else is following, or you can figure out your own rules. And the thing that's really, really unique about profitable filmmaking is the fact that we give you the guidelines, but You get to create the rules. You get to decide who you want to work on with. You get to decide how much you want to work. You get to decide what kinds of projects you do. And we've built it so you can then put your values and your goals and your ideal clients into the system. So it's really about creating your own sets of rules that you're going to be able to thrive on and that your business is going to grow into.
I love it all. I love all this. I've had so many people that like have connected through, when Patrick has posted certain things in our group and connected and got, involved in all this extra incredible work and just being around the two of you. I know a lot of us that are listening are like just writing notes. I'm making notes here in the notes that Nick and I have together, just like so I can remember that just for me for later. But this is such a great resource. I know that like as I've watched Muse Storytelling and watched Patrick for so long and seen all the changes, just getting emails from you guys, just getting like every little thing adds up. And so I know there's a ton of people out there that want to know all about this course. We made it easy for them. We just have howtofilmweddings.com/profitable filmmaking. If they go there, they can see all of the details, connect right with you guys there. So we just made it really easy. And as of this episode, if I'm not mistaken, this course tell us like it's about like when it's dropping, all that kind of stuff.
So the course is going to be available through October 2nd. And when you go and check out the link at howtofilmweddings.com/profitable filmmaking, you can also find a totally free training, but you should definitely make sure that you check it out soon because the free training goes away on October 2nd too. And in that free training, you're going to learn the 5 foundations that your business absolutely needs to thrive. And you'll also be able to evaluate yourself and find out where you're missing out the most on.
I love it. So many good things, guys. We will have you back on 100 times if you'll let us. So every time I get through talking to the two of you, I'm always energized, a little sweaty, and really excited. And I'm going to buy some new paper. I'm just out of here. I'm going to get some paper. Now, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet all of you at How to Film Weddings.
Man, so good to have Patrick and Rebecca on today. Such a great episode. We really hope that it was a positive experience, that you're encouraged and want to just, conquer the world in your wedding video business, or maybe try that commercial stuff, or, other avenues that you have always wanted to. And again, we want to highlight this resource that they have put out. All you need to do is go to howtofilmweddings.com/profitable filmmaking. You go there, you can get hooked up. You can find everything out about this course that they have put together. It is so incredible. John and I are in it. Like the stuff that they're teaching, the stuff that they're saying is so just mind blowing, and also like easy to understand. It's stuff that if you do it, it will help you become so successful in your business, no matter the exact field that you are in. So again, Rebecca, Patrick, thank you for coming on. howtofilmweddings.com/profitable filmmaking. That's profitable filmmaking. Man, I need to end this. Thanks you guys for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, we will see you.
See you guys.